fund themselves, and they should also have some incentives. So at that time, the proposal was that we should give them a deemed interest as a credit on the amount invested. But unfortunately, I think the law has not been drafted as it was conceived, the idea. We feel that the proposed provision would require further appropriate amendment in respect of computation of tax credit. For example, deemed interest expenses may be allowed on the equity invested in the establishment of new industrial undertaking for manufacturing in Pakistan or in the BMR of the existing industrial undertaking. I also feel that some provision may be incorporated to facilitate the existing industrial units also, because if some company already not having 100% funded equity on equity, why they should not be given the same advantage? So I think this ICMAP from this platform you can propose that this facility should be extended to those who are not presently they have industry, but they are not 100% equity funded by them by own. They can also take the advantage of this. Now I come to the provisional assessment. Today we hear about 7 lakh assessee हैं और 23 lakh assessee हैं और उसको notices भेजी जाएंगी. But then what will happen? There is one statistics also been given by the finance minister कि जी 71,000 लोगों को नोटिसें issues हो गई हैं और उसमें से 631 billion की डिमांड भी खड़ी कर दी गई है. So I pray. Why I pray? Because I think I personally have come to a conclusion that this country cannot have a reduction in the expenses. It is the only way that we have to increase the revenue. So I think if we can increase the revenue through that matter. So through the Finance Act 2010, a concept of provisional assessment under section 122C was introduced, whereby if a person does not file his tax return, the officer in Land Revenue shall provisionally assess the taxable income of any person on the basis of available information or material and the best of his assessment. Such provisional assessment is treated as final assessment if the taxpayer fails to submit his tax returns, wealth statement, wealth reconciliation, and source of acquisition of asset to the officers in Land Revenue within the period of 60 days. However, the corresponding modification was not made in the definition of assessment. At that time, now the finance bill is proposes to make a corresponding amendment in the assessment. So, in section 2.5. Similarly, under section 137.2 relates to the due payment of tax, because it was not clear that if the order has been passed under section 122C, what would be the due payment of the tax, for the purpose of penalty and the additional tax. So now they are clarifying that it will be immediately on the day when its 60 days are completed. So that will be a due date. Next. As you all know, ladies and gentlemen, that the powers of provisional assessments were exercised by the officer in Land Revenue, and in some occasions we have experienced that even in cases where the taxpayer claims that the return has been filed, the provisional assessment orders were issued and served on the taxpayer. The taxpayers filed appeals against those provisional assessment orders before the Commissioner of Income Tax under section 127, and there are cases where the CIT, due to non-availability of express provision in the law, declined to entertain the appeal. However, those appeals were accepted on the ground that there is an increase in the demand. So when there is an increase in the demand or the tax liability, the appeal can be entertained. Now it has been proposed that, specifically proposed that order under section 122C cannot be made appealable, irrespective of the fact whatever the ground is. My point is, today, if I have been served a notice, and for any reason, God forbid, I could not comply within the 60 days for having a genuine reason, a force majeure, why should I be deprived for not having a file to appeal? So I think this august house can make a proposal that the right of appeal is a vested right granted in the Constitution of Pakistan, and the right of appeal cannot be taken away at all. So I think that is one thing. The second proposal which I would like to make is that there has to be a fairness in the demand. It cannot be immediately due on the day when the order has been passed. It should be at least 2 weeks time. It is already provided in section 137. So there should be 2 weeks time. Now I would come to the broadening of tax base, what proposals have been made. As we all know that NADRA has given us data of about 700,000 individuals, and those data actually has been generated on few criteria. Like if somebody who is having a foreign currency bank account, he has traveled more than 60 days to any foreign country, who lives in a posh area, and he is not on the tax net. So this is the criteria whereby 700,000 people have been selected. So that is the one effort which FBR is doing. The another effort is that, next please. The another effort is that now all the electricity connection holders whose bill is more than 1 million in 1 year would be liable to file the return irrespective of their position, income or loss. They are required to file the return of income. In this regard, I have 2-3 points which I would like you to make a proposal to that. The first thing is, if the problem will come if the property is rented, it is not it is actually not under the consumption of the owner. So the notice should be given to the person who is been actually utilizing or consuming the electricity. The second position is if somebody who is sharing the electricity, then there will be 2 or more than 2 consumers who would be given the notices for that, liable to file that. And the third position is that if the connection is not in the name of usually it happen in Pakistan that the connections are not in the name of actual consumer and they are in the name of the building owner or somebody else. This similar situation was arise in 1992 when section 57E was introduced regarding the withholding tax of the electricity, and at that time the circular number 26 of 1992 was issued, whereby it was clarified that credit of the tax will be given only to the consumer and not to the connection holders. So I think this principle can also be applied here also. Next I can come on the another point which I would like to make a request to the ICMAP, that actually it should not be only electricity. If we look at the gas consumptions is also in some of the industry or most of the industries is also very high and they are not also on the tax net. I think instead of it should be connection holder of the electricity, it should be connection holder of the utilities whose bills is more than 1 million. So I think that would further broaden the tax base. Then filing of wealth statement, effort has been made to change the form whereby now CNIC and the national tax number would be the individual of the tax payee will be required to be filed.